Welcome to Storycomic Presents, where we interview amazing storytellers and artists. This is episode 70, and I am your host, Barney Smith of Storycomic.com, and we are excited to have with us the widely celebrated artist and illustrator, Ashley Ribblett. Ashley, thank you for joining us tonight. This is exciting stuff.
Yeah, thank you. I had nothing else to do.
And so we met. Well, we didn't met, but we were connected to a mutual connection, Stephanie, and she was talking about your artwork, but during our interview on the work that you worked with in Insider Art, which was a kind of an anthology graphic novel that you worked on with her, correct? Yeah, and I already have it pulled up. We're gonna talk about your artwork. We got some great stuff to look at. We're gonna talk about what you use, your medium, and all that kind of fun stuff, because we do actually have a lot of other artists and illustrators and people that are wanting to learn the craft listen and watch this as well. But before we jump right into talking about your artwork, do you want to give our viewers and our listeners who are listening to this later a bit of your background, how you got into art?
It was a downhill kind of rolling maneuver. So I got into art by not knowing that I was really even getting into art. It was something that I always kind of had an interest in. I've always been kind of like a background gamer. I liked playing games, like reading books, like a lot of like very like creative like kind of culture. And I did start drawing like not a super early age. I actually started drawing because of video games. As nerdy as that is. I remember like I really got into drawing. My brother used to get every single system that came out in the 90s. So we had like Nintendo, Super Nintendo, we had a Genesis, we had a PS1 like right when it came out for Christmas. So like my brother was really into gaming because he's an older brother. I kind of always tagged along to what he was doing. So because my brother gamed, I gamed.
Okay. So
I got into gaming, and the more we got into gaming, he was actually like kind of, it was very broad spectrum. So it wasn't just like, oh, he was always playing Madden. We had like a lot of RPGs and like action games growing up. So I really got into art, like JRPGs, like Suikoden was one. So things that were very character based and like story based, and I got into those. And the more that I got into like the stories, like the more I kind of had the gumption to like, I had like all this pent up energy, and it had to go somewhere. So I just had to draw, man. I just had to draw, like. And I remember he used to subscribe to he subscribed to a lot of magazines, but one of them was, of course, EGM. And it was a turning point moment, because I still think about it sometimes, that somebody wrote in, Final Fantasy VII had kind of come out, and someone wrote in with a fan art that they had made of Cloud. And it was just like, it was like a light bulb where it was like, you can just draw? You just draw those dudes? You can just draw whatever dude you want, and they let you get away with that. So I started like kind of getting into kind of like drawing like a lot of like, not like a lot of fan art, because I didn't know how to draw. So I did it very badly. I drew very badly for like a year, well, a number of years. But I got very into trying to draw specific characters from Suikoden. Like, there's 108 characters that you can draw from Suikoden. So I had like my pick of like who I really liked, and like having in my party where I was like, I'm gonna draw Victor and Flick. I'm gonna draw Gremio. I'm gonna draw Aga's Bow, who's like a big squid guy. So I just kind of got into like the habit of drawing characters that I liked, because I was really into those characters. And from there, I kind of like had a mini talk with myself. I'm like, all right, you've been drawing these characters. Maybe we can try to draw them better. So then I decided from that point that I would actually maybe try to learn like some structure. And I remember like most people start with anime. I kind of like started with anime because it was super easy. Anime is like a very structured kind of style, so it's a very good jumping off point. I think it's why you see a lot of people start drawing anime before they really start drawing like a lot of like realistic kind of stuff. So I remember like drawing from a like an anime drawing guide or something. And I like went upstairs because it was in the basement. My computer's in the basement. So I went upstairs to like show my mom and her boyfriend. And it was like just this dumb, stupid anime guy face with like spiky hair or whatever. And it was just like I stepped in front of the TV to like show them my stupid anime protagonist that I drew. And they were just like, okay. So from that point, I'm just like, well, I'm not going to stop doing it. So I just kind of, progress from there, drawing different anime and different characters, basically. I really kind of came up with fan art.
Right. And so that kind of sparked you on the, did you, anything like Chrono Trigger or any of the, or is it mostly?
I actually like, during my formative years, my brother's about 4 years older than me, so we did have Chrono Trigger growing up. Another formative memory of Chrono Trigger is he was super far along in the game, had a save file, and then I came downstairs and decided I was going to start playing, so I started a new game, but I overwrote his file, and I almost died. I was almost done a murder that day. Oh man, yeah. So after that, I have like a weird chip about Chrono Trigger. I don't know if I'll ever be able to play it because of the thought of how angry my brother was about me overwriting his save file, like close to I think the last boss or something.
Oh jeez.
But I did because I also like Chrono Cross came out I think when I was in high school, and I have a lot of like Chrono Cross is one of my favorite games that I ever played of like all time.
Right.
It's like almost not a perfect game, but it's a game that I would definitely like. I would play over and over again in the same way that I think a lot of people will play Chrono Trigger.
Okay, yeah. So you got into anime, video game art is where you kind of started, and at what point did you make that decision to then do illustration professionally?
Good question. I didn't. That's the answer to that. I don't even know if I really even now do it professionally. I certainly do it. Yeah, I always like whenever I talk about doing art when I'm at a convention or somebody talks to me about it, I always maintain that I never really kind of like knew that I was going to keep drawing or making art or that it was going to be anything that was even like associated with me. I didn't even like I've never actually like really traditionally gone to art school. So I just remember that it was something that I did, and then it was just something that I kept doing alongside other things that I was doing. I never really had a specific like career plan in mind. I wasn't really super interested in like one thing over another. I didn't have like I'm gonna go to school, I'm gonna get this degree, and I'm gonna do this. Like I actually like I do have a degree, and it's not in art. I have a degree in applied sciences. I did X-ray for a couple of years.
Oh wow.
Yeah, so I have like a degree in diagnostic imaging, and I only started doing art really like after a number of years because I went to community college. I didn't go to, like a big name college or anything. It's just local school. Most people know Tri-C. Went to Tri-C, did that stuff. No shame. Tri-C is good for the money. But I would just take a lot of I took all my basics, and then I kind of started taking art. I took figure drawing, and then I kept taking figure drawing until the point that my teacher, Charlene Green, which locals will know Charlene. Charlene's a grade A person. But I would take figure drawing so much that to the point I annexed the class, and I would come in, and Charlene would just be like, "Oh hey Ashley, what do you want to draw this semester?" So I was like, "I don't know, I'm kind of I think I'm just gonna draw feet. I'm just gonna draw feet for the next 3 months, I guess." She's like, "All right, well, I'll grade you accordingly or whatever. Just have that. Here's a drawing, whoops." So I would just go in and I would just start kind of doing, I guess, studies on different things that I was kind of interested in learning a little bit more about. 'Cause feet are super cool. People have a big problem with doing hands and feet. Right. And I would say just do nothing but that. just do it until you're really, really sick of it, and you somehow just know how the shape works. Feet are kind of like a bar of soap, in my opinion. They're like drawing a bar of soap, a couple bars of soap. But you only learn that by like really kind of like getting into just like doing that and doing nothing but that for, you know, solid 3 months.
Right. So with that said, what do you mostly stick with? What's your go-to medium? Is it mostly digital, or is it well, analog, I guess is maybe, you know what to call it. Like, you know,
traditional and digital. Those are those are them. I've done both. I mean, obviously before I had a tablet, I wasn't doing anything digitally, so I do a lot of, I'm like really more into, as an artist, I really like drawing. I like drawing more than I like painting. So when I do it digitally, they're just kind of like, they both have like their pros and their cons. Digitally, I think I can knock things out faster, and I have a wider range of I have a wider range of the medium. I have different line widths. I have different tools. Obviously, traditionally, the only tools I have are what I buy or steal. So it's kind of like a smaller gamut that I'm working with. But it can be more rewarding. Obviously, people always 9.5 times out of 10 go real gaga over traditional stuff. If you show them a physical painting, it's more impressive than what you've done digitally. A lot of dummies, some dummies don't think that drawing digitally is really drawing at all or painting at all or really doing the work, because I don't know, they've never tried it. So but yeah, so like that one in particular, that cat was done with Posca marker, which is an acrylic paint marker. So that is a traditional drawing. So I do have like a smattering of like, there's some traditional stuff on my site, there's some digital stuff on my site. Usually you can tell because traditional, it'll scan with like an actual texture to it. So
and so talk to us a bit about what's your process. How much of the work that you do is either through like a contracted, or like somebody asks you like a job, or how much of the stuff that you do that you that you do as like a personal passion projects?
I mean, a majority of them are personal passion projects. It's like I don't put myself out there like a whole lot. I don't really like hit the pavement like trying to promote myself. So the commissions that I do get like are usually people that I'm actually interested in working with. Like they already know what I do. So they already know what they're kind of going to get. So I'm already into the project that they're going to put forth to me. The cover image that I have on my portfolio site, actually, like that raccoon falling into a pile of Halloween candy, it's very specific to the kind of stuff I'm into. So I had no problem working on that one or taking that commission. So like a lot of the time, I'm either kind of like, sought after by very specific people, or I kind of like have a crew of like locals that know what I do, have seen me at conventions. If they're interested in something, they know where to find me. But yeah, otherwise, for the most part, like I usually kind of like either hunt down like zine work or something online. So
yeah, that was gonna be one of my leading questions, was how, if somebody's looking to do illustration work or do that, how do you make those connections first? What's some of your advice and tips that you would give to budding artists that are looking to get into doing some freelance work like this?
I mean, I would say, like, lucky you can just fall into it, because that is exactly what I did. Because I didn't even know that I was really going to be drawing or doing any of it for money, as much as I do. I would say if you're interested in drawing or doing that kind of thing, you will already kind of be making moves to put yourself in circles or other people that do art. And the more artistic people that you know and the wider the circle that you're in, you will find other people that are looking to either commission you to do things or asking like if you want to do a project, or telling you that there are projects that you can do. 'Cause that's half the time like what I'm actually doing. Whenever I do zine work, I'm either kind of like hunting it down, or I have like several friends that like know about a project or know about a circle of people that are putting out like a call for art to get into a project. That's how I got into insider art. It's not because like I was specifically looking for it. Like other friends were kind of doing it. My friend Sequoia Bostic, she's super good artist. She's incredibly adept at searching out work and other illustration like avenues. So as soon as she was just like, hey, was it Nicole Booth? She was editing on it. And I was like, this person is looking for more illustrators. Like, if you have time or you want to do it, like, just email her. Like, it's going to be kind of closing like around this time, so there's not a lot of, time to actually do it. But if you wanted to, this is her email. Get in touch with her, make it happen. And I just kind of like, I dusted off all the wine bottles because it was the first month of the pandemic. Dusted off all the wine bottles, and then I was just like, you should do something. So I ended up emailing her, and that's how I ended up getting into that gig. And that's just kind of how it happens. It doesn't need to be pomp and circumstance. You don't need to go to a 4-year college in order to get work or start working with interesting people doing cool projects. You just have to like see who's looking and put your name out there. And half the time, you'll probably get into doing it. So
right. So let's look at your sketchbook here. So talk to me about like when what's your media? Because you mentioned some digital. You like to work specifically with different mediums. Like, talk to us a bit about. Is it mostly, as you mentioned, like the acrylic pens? What's your go-to tools that you're like when you're just sitting at, maybe sitting on the couch or something like that? What's that one thing that's right next to you that you'll just grab and start using on your sketchbooks?
I usually have an idea of what I want to do. And as soon as I know what the idea is, I know what I want to do it in or what it will look best in. So if I'm doing something with color, if I want to do something that has more than just one tone, like not one layer or something, I'm not going to use paint. So like this one is a traditional piece. This Mermaid, I think that it was done maybe from, I think a lot of the pieces in the sketchbook portion of my portfolio are from Dr. Sketchy. So it was like a life drawing thing. So I usually took a model. So it usually started with something. And I would kind of tailor it to make it more interesting, so I would be able to finish it.
Yeah.
I get I get burnt out very quickly if I'm not super interested in certain work. This is like one of my favorite models. I would even go so far as to say that she is my muse. Lightning Lane. If you ever look her up on Instagram, fantastic local model. Does a lot of stuff. I think she is based in Akron, maybe. Super phenomenal. I love her. But yeah, I did a lot of art during sketchy years of Lightning Lane. So, but this is also traditional piece. You can see like all of the I think this is on vellum or tracing paper, because tracing paper actually takes wet medium very well, like marker. It kind of like leaches into it, and like you're able to push it around if you add more color, so it gives kind of like a good gradient when you're doing stuff. Yeah, so this is like all traditional marker, and it blended in, went dark very well.
And so with this past year with COVID, how easy or accessible or difficult has it been to find some more freelance work?
I mean, I couldn't tell you because I kind of gave up. I think a lot of artists would agree that like at the beginning they all thought that they were going to have all the free time to do everything, everything that they wanted, to take everything in their planners or their journals, and just like, I'm gonna do the gamut, the whole dang thing, and nobody did nothing, which is what I did. So I kind of like I got furloughed from my job, and I was like, well, this would be a good time to like really make some stuff and do whatever. And I went to sleep. And I just stayed asleep. And like it was a bad couple of months or whatever. Like I did start a couple of projects. Obviously, I did the insider art thing. So that was like one of like the mainstays that I kind of like grabbed onto when I was like kind of depressed. And I was like, I wasn't really making anything for myself, and I didn't know what I was really doing, and I couldn't make myself get into anything consistently. And I decided to throw myself into that. And it was actually, so I did, these are specifically, like, it's not technically a comic. These are really more spot illustrations for a story, which is a really cool story. I really, really loved it. Like, such a personal story. Like, I really like that kind of thing. You can do like sprawling stories or whatever, but like a really intimate, kind of like personal, introverted, just like this is like kind of what's going on, and it's like mostly a fantasy, and then it's gonna have some realistic elements, you know, towards the end. Like that was something that I was super interested in because I got put on the project really incredibly late, and I was kind of asked like, do you want to do a comic? Do you want to just do illustrations? We're kind of looking at this time frame for it.
Okay.
So I was like, okay, just looking at the time frame, I'm not going to be able to do, won't be able to do like text boxes. I won't be able to structure it in a way that is good for dialogue. I can maybe do 4 or 5 images because I think I really only had 2 weeks. It was 2 weeks to work on it. So was it 5 images for 2 weeks, fully colored, like fully lined, fully colored, like to the printer. So, you know, with like a little bit of feedback, a little bit of rework. So,
was this digital or was this?
Oh yeah, it's digital.
Wow.
There's no way I would have been able to do traditional stuff in 2 weeks.
So, what's your format for digital then? What do you use?
I use like 90%. I use Clip Studio Paint.
Okay.
I used to work in a really nice cracked Photoshop 7. That was really cool to work out of for a while. And then I had to get a new computer because most computers don't want to run a cracked Photoshop 7 anymore. And after that, it wasn't really like they updated it and they made it incredibly unintuitive to draw in. So Photoshop, really, I don't do any drawing, and I barely even really do any like minute editing, like with brushwork. I will use it to edit, like photo edit. It's really specifically good for photo editing, and that's what I will usually do. So like I'll finish something up in Clip Studio, and then I will import it over to Photoshop, and from there I will either like convert it to CMYK, and I will mess with the levels and stuff to like make it a little bit better print wise if I'm going to print it or if it is going to print. So but yeah, I don't really draw in Photoshop, I draw in Clip Studio.
Okay. And do you utilize like do you have like a stylus, or do you use like a mouse clicker? How do you use that?
Oh no, I gotta use a tablet all the way. Up until like literally a year and a half ago. So the first tablet that I ever got back in the early 2000s, I got a Wacom Graphire 4x6, so like itty bitty.
Oh right, yeah.
Palette. And I got it used on eBay, so it wasn't even like a new tablet. So I was using that up until a year and a half ago, where when I upgraded my computer, it was literally like, "Hi, this is Wacom. We don't make drivers for this anymore. So maybe want to buy one of our new palettes." So I ended up having to I had to get one from a friend. I think a friend gave me his because he's like a proper freelancer and had a much nicer Wacom tablet.
And so was this one of your own works? Was this a commission?
So that is like from one of the comics that I did.
Okay.
What comic was that? I know that the name of the comic that I did was What Josie Says.
Okay.
And it was part of a anthology. It was like a toy-based anthology. So we did I think it was Ronald Montgomery, I think I worked with, was the writer on this. So it was this big, they have a couple anthologies. So this was an anthology in like this toy kind of world. And ours was like basically, it was a Barbie in prison kind of thing. So it was like Barbie in prison with Bratz dolls. And I was just like, yes, this is what I'm into. This is my jam. Like, So I did do this digitally. I don't know what I worked at. I think I actually worked out of Painful Sai.
Okay.
So, it's a Japanese art program
Okay.
that's free, and if you get it free, half of the menu items and like tools are just like they're in actual like kanji. So, but they had good brushes. So what can I say?
So you feel pretty good. You settled on Clip Studio Paint then basically for is it all of your illustration stuff or just the comic book stuff?
Oh, pretty much everything. If I'm working
Okay.
digitally, like it's I don't know. It rivals what Photoshop used to be in every way, and it's free. They have like a free version, and then they do like a discount of $25. During like they do like a sale like 5 or 6 times a year, where it's like, hey, the whole thing is $25 or whatever, minus like if you wanted to buy the Creative Suite package, I don't even know what they're doing now. It's like a monthly license. Like, oof, what a nightmare. Oh boy. I don't know why would you choose Photoshop? It's not even great to draw in. Like, and you can do animation. It's specifically made. It's made for people that want to do comics. It has like specific layouts for people that are doing comics. So why would you not choose Clip Studio?
Right. Yeah. Yeah. And do you have? So let me ask you though, with all your work, do you have certain types of little Easter eggs or little tiny things that for those Ashley fans that always like to try to look for in any of your work?
I mean, usually it's not Easter eggs. Usually it's the full egg. I just draw the full egg. Most of the time, like I like drawing hair like in certain ways. I usually try to like either put men in dresses or something. I like to do a lot of gender subversion because I am a queer creator, so I do like putting those elements in it. It's more of just like not specifically like elements that I will add, because they're always elements of just like how I draw something. Like I like to do a lot of seaweed hair for women. I usually try to draw stuff that has people that have as few bones as possible, that kind of thing. Usually like a lot of like water droplets or like little accent stuff. So, but it really kind of depends on what I'm doing, because if I'm not doing it just for myself, if I'm doing it for a project or a commission, that's not really about, I shouldn't be adding stuff that I'm necessarily into, even though like I will probably find something to sneak in there that I enjoy quite a bit, because that just makes the project bearable. So.
Because I noticed too, it's like your artwork is it's stylized and, as you said, in your way, but you're also, your characters look different based off of, I guess, the commission. Have you had anybody say, hey, can you make this kind of like this past piece? Or do you have people who are kind of point out towards previous works and say, can you do something like this for me?
Yeah, I mean, most of the time somebody commissions me if they're doing a specific piece, it's because of something that I've already done, or it's a subject matter that they know we kind of like share. So yeah, usually it's not, I don't find too much difficulty like kind of working, from absolute zero with someone commissioning me, because we usually have like, oh, I just put out this piece. They really like that piece. They generally tell me that they're referencing this piece. Like, I really like this thing that you did. Would you be able to do this and this? And even if they don't, I will generally kind of ask like leading questions where I'm like, oh, okay, this is a subject that you want drawn. What do you think about this? What do you think about this style? Like, what kind of things, like when you are thinking about what you want from me, what are you thinking of? Like, do you have examples of work that you like in the past that you would like to see emulated? Like, that's usually like, it's really good to ask leading questions, because, at least for me, in my experience, I would rather work for more information than less information. I know a lot of people are like, oh, you can do whatever you want. It's super freeing. And I'm like, no, it's not what I want. I don't want freedom. I need to work inside like a closed system. Like, I need to know what the rules are. I need to know what I'm pulling from. I need to have less freedom. Like, you will get a better product if you just tell me exactly what you want. Right. And then from there, if I can't deliver that, then we can edit from there, and you will get a piece that you love. So
talk to us a bit about the actual contracting piece to it. How do you have like some specific guidelines that you always going to make sure like any of your freelance contracts have, or are you kind of the person that a handshake is good enough? What would be some of your advice for people that do the business side of things?
A handshake, sir, in these times.
All right, elbow bump.
Surely not. I'm pretty lenient in terms of contracts. When I work, I think I don't have like a very specific thing that I work with. Everybody's different. Everybody has a different kind of understanding of how to pay someone money for a product that they want. You know, a person is not just an impersonal eBay merchant. So pretty much like I just kind of decide like, all right, what do you want done? All right, from there, I will figure out in my mind, all right, how long is this going to take? How do we want to do this piece? What am I going to need? What do they actually want? Are they going to ask for it? Do they care if it's digital? Do they want it to be traditional? If they're getting it traditional, do they expect to get the final piece? If so, then arrangements need to be made in order to send the piece, that kind of thing. I know that you should probably just like have an actual like a list of what your prices are. I kind of always go by intuition of what I think it's going to cost me and what will be worth it to make the piece. If I can get like, you know, like some Arby's out of it, you know, whatever, if I'm not buying anything, that's super nice. If I can pay like a bill, that might be nice. But yeah, it really kind of like depends on the piece, what they're asking for, how involved it is, if it's digital or traditional, are they getting the final piece? Those are all kind of the things that I take into consideration when I do take a commission. So I'm very hands-on, and you know, like I get into the gears of it and figure it out and kind of tailor it to whoever's actually commissioning the piece. What works best for both parties. So.
And how much is timeline a factor of it? If it's like, is it like the shorter time frame they give you, you feel comfortable bumping up the price, or how does that work?
I mean, yeah, that's definitely one part of it. I will say that I work better on a deadline. I work really good on a deadline. So depending on what the turnaround time is, like if it's an involved piece or whatever, if it has background work to it, usually I will give it at least like minimum 3 weeks, just because I do have a day job. This is not the majority of what I do, even though I do enjoy it greatly. So they have to take that into consideration. If they want to shorten it, that's going to affect price factor or whatever, because then I'm taking from my own personal time, possibly sleep, you know, so.
So Ed Norris just said, hey, Ashley, I have a ton of her work. It's fantastic.
Yeah, Ed! Thanks, Ed. Yeah, Ed commissions a lot of stuff for me. I'm always surprised. Like, oh, hi, Kelly. What the heck? Who did you let people in?
So what would you say would be some specific pieces of advice that you would give people? Like, these are the top 2 or the top 3 things you have to make sure before you start working with somebody. These are the things that you absolutely have to have in a contract.
I mean, so if you're going to work with somebody, especially someone that you don't know or haven't worked with before, or you don't have any kind of like real rapport, I would say there's a good basic stipulation of you can agree to do the work, make there be a halfway point. So it's either you get half of the money up front, they get a certain number of revisions, they get to see it at the sketch point or whatever in order to make a revision before you start inking or making it final. There's like a halfway point if you want there to be, where you either get additional money, or they get to make a bigger decision on just like, no, this is like not what I want to do. Like, we kind of like need to go in a different direction. Don't color it this way. the brushes look bad, or like I don't like that texture. I mean, you can do different styles or whatever. I had a customer one time that like specifically like didn't want line work. They wanted like a very painterly style, so like soft edges and stuff. That was like kind of brought up like almost during the midway point where they're like they forgot to reference a piece that I had done where I kind of was just doing like a color blocking style work. So then there's like, oh no, well this is like what I was like thinking of or blah blah. I'm like, hey, that would have been nice to know. It's like gonna have to rework some stuff, but that's fine. Not a huge deal. There's just gonna be, you know, that's the turning point or whatever. And from there, always make your point very solid that like this is what I need up front in order to start the work. This is what you can expect. When you can expect it, if you're okay with that, then you don't like they can't really throw anything at you that you're not expecting. Right. Because if you go in there just like, oh yeah, like I'll make this artwork for you and you can pay me at the end of it. And I've done that before, but if you don't know somebody, you can get burned. They could either just cheat you out of money. If you send them the file or whatever, they can cheat you out of money. Or they could just like at the end of it decide that it wasn't worth it and they don't want it at all. So usually that's why you would charge like a certain amount up front, just to make sure that your time is not completely wasted, because everyone's time is valuable, you know?
And so like you bring up a good point, like the issue of revisions. Do you say like, listen, we're not gonna do this, you know, ad nauseum. You only get so many revisions before this is the final. Then I'm putting the color in on this.
I mean, it's something that you should always make clear beforehand. Like very luckily, I've never had a super bad client that I've had to work with that like required like that needed to be in the minutia of the piece so deeply that I needed to constantly confer with them and they wanted to make changes. For the most part, people know my art before they commission me. They know what they're getting. Usually like I am super what is it like? I'm very upfront about what I'm doing when I am doing it. I try to send as many screenshots or you know like revisions and stuff as possible. Like not even like revisions. I just want them to know what I'm doing, when I'm doing it, what I'm adding. So I'm just like, here are the pencils. Do you have questions about the pencils? Do they look good? All right. The next step is going to be inking the pencils. So if you have a problem with the pencils right now, you need to tell me. Otherwise, you know, because I told you about the pencils. So I will usually just do that. I'm very communicative with like who I'm being commissioned by, especially if it's like not just like, oh, can you like make a print of something for me? Like I would like a print that I've seen that you did recently just for yourself or whatever. Like Ed gets a lot of my prints and I'm always very happy when Ed gets a print and I'm always very surprised whenever he gets a print. But yeah, for the most part, Ed like usually like gets my stuff afterwards, so I don't have to like worry about like, you know, the minutia like that. Last commission I did, I was just very, very involved with what was going on, when it was going on. I'm just like, this is the first round of pencils, this is the first round of inks, I'm gonna put more here, this is what I am planning to do, and then I, you know, kind of go step by step. I just feel that it kind of goes a lot more smoother if they always kind of know what you're doing when you're doing it. So
and well, you brought up that point about if you haven't worked with a client before, it's, you know, do you ever in that position where it's weird? There's lots of illustrators out there, but then again, it's such a small world as well. Do you ever reach out to, you know, someone that you might know, another illustrator you might know, to say, hey, I saw you worked on so and so. Were they a good client? Should I work with them? Does that ever happen?
I mean, every once in a while, usually like, cause I have like a ton, like, I'm very lucky that I have a lot of amazing illustrator friends that like work with a lot of different clients. So I'm always just like, hey, what are you doing? Like, how are you working with this client? What kind of work are you doing? But I usually don't need to really ask if so-and-so is a good person. A lot of us work super locally, so we know a lot of these people. So it's like, if I wouldn't have to ask any of the other illustrators. I would kind of already know about this person beforehand, because word gets around in art circles specifically, where it's just like, oh, I did this piece for this person. It was really bad. Don't do this, or don't do this show. A lot of us usually stay in touch, so I never really have to like ask about it. I kind of already know, so I'll either I won't take a customer, or I won't do a show based on that.
So Bill just said Ashley is the shiz. Love her work.
Bye-bye! Billy's great. I work with Billy. Actually, on pre-press with me right now. How's that going, Billy? Like the pre-press live, Billy.
So where do you see you get a lot of your referrals? Is it because it's 2021, as you know, you've been doing this for a while, you know, it seems like every couple of years or so, there seems to be that one center point where people is like, this is the place to find artists, whether it be, you know, a few years ago it was DeviantArt, and a few years ago it was, so like, so is,
you said the magic word.
Do you know where are you getting most of your referral? Is it Instagram now? That seems to be, or you're getting it also from, as you say, maybe
honestly, mostly Twitter. Twitter,
oh, really?
like, yeah, like once well, it used to be Tumblr.
Yeah, Tumblr used to
Tumblr.
be. Yeah.
Fond memories of Tumblr. And a lot of like, so like a lot of specific zine works. There were like, Tumblr was like the mainstay of artists. Right. Then shitty Yahoo took it over, didn't know what to do with it, decided to ban adult imagery, which is like also includes adult artwork, which like, I don't know if you've ever been inside the MoMA, but there's adult artwork. So yeah, but a lot of those artists ended up moving over to Twitter, which is not as good of a platform to post art, but it is definitely a better platform to kind of like spread messages and promote yourself. It's a lot easier to follow a lot of people. It's a lot like Instagram in a way. Instagram like doesn't really have a good like a text-based kind of community. There's not like a really good platform for like making posts that are just like what is it, like informational posts, basically stuff that doesn't revolve around images. So they're kind of like two halves of like one really good world, of which Tumblr used to be and is no longer. So a lot of the stuff that I've kind of like been following, like specifically zines, there's like a lot of zines that do go on Tumblr, but I find out about them specifically on Twitter. So I actually recently did my last recent like kind of like project. I did a piece for this. It was a what we do in the shadows zine, called What We Create in the Shadows. Okay. So I did a piece for that. It was a charity zine for Refugees International. And the pre-orders are actually closed right now, but it was a super, super cool project that I wouldn't have found out about unless I was on Twitter. So,
okay. So that would be your recommendation, is because Twitter mostly now is where you can get a lot of good finding new clients and stuff then from there.
Yeah, because it's dialogue based. It's a dialogue based app. Right. So it's a good way, like, I think that they're kind of working on how they show images, like their gallery, like kind of specifications. They're working on that to make images like more intuitively viewable than they did before. Because before they would like crop them. You'd only be able to see like so high of a resolution. You wouldn't know what the actual preview would look like if you were uploading an image. It's the same for video. A lot of video, like content creators like Gus Johnson put out like a video about like how difficult it was. Like he's a super popular creator specifically on YouTube, and it was almost impossible for him to actually put out like a 40-second video on Twitter because of like how it would edit it down, or it would crop it to like a certain like time frame. Right. And it would be, yeah. So they're becoming better. But in general, for like informational based purposes, like finding that kind of work, there are a ton of zines that like get pushed around on Twitter. You know, they're different, like kind of like, not web rings, that's an old term, but yeah, like a ring of zines, like you know, specific like Twitters that just like, hey, are you looking for work? Are you looking for specific kind of genre stuff? Are you looking for specific like anime or kind of fandom content? Like, here's a bunch of stuff that's going on right now. They're looking for moderators. They're looking for contributors. They're doing interest checks. But yeah, that's how I found the What We Do in the Shadows zine. And honestly, I will probably be hitting the road to like, I'd really love to do a Hades zine. I've played it a little bit, but I'm a big fan. Love Hades. Would love to do a zine for it.
Wow. Okay. So let me ask you, also, is like when because you, as you said earlier, you dip your toes pretty well into the pen and ink, and you're also the digital. What is, if you had if somebody sat down with you and says, I want you to do this poster or whatever, what are the qualifying factors of that where you would want to go more towards making the digital one or lean more towards or doing something that's more pen and ink? What would be those qualifying factors for you to make that decision?
Well, one is, of course, money. Two is, of course, when do they need it? And really, honestly, most importantly, what do they want? Do they actually want a traditional media poster? Because generally posters are bigger pieces of artwork. If you're going to order a bigger piece of artwork, you need to look into, are you local? Am I going to deliver it to you? Which would definitely be a lot easier. But, I've done posters for people that were like in other like states. So are you willing to pay the amount that it would take for me to ship this piece to you? A lot of people are perfectly fine doing digital. Digital is like almost zero collateral money down in order to do as large of a piece as you would like. You have almost an infinite amount of tools to get that piece done. Generally, if it's something that's bigger than like 14 by 18, I think is maybe one of the larger things that I work on, like paper-wise, traditionally. If it's going to be bigger than that, I would rather do it digitally because it takes a lot less time. It's a lot cleaner. It's infinitely more editable, based on what their specs are, if they're interested or not. If they wanted a different tone or a color palette, you could edit the colors like, instantly. So I would generally go for digital over traditional if someone really wanted to commission like something bigger.
And do you have it like also kind of baked into some of your agreements that, do you have anything where you get to utilize the images that you've had or anything like that as well afterwards?
I've never had to like write up a contract for it. Generally, if someone's like getting a personal piece,
right,
I kind of don't. I just like kind of don't take the extra guns from worms. Like, I'm gonna make prints of it and I'm gonna sell it at cons. Like if someone like specifically like commission me for a piece of like, I would love you to draw my wife or something like that. I'm not gonna use that in my own personal, repertoire. I'm not gonna like take that to shows. I'm not gonna put it on Redbubble. If they're asking me to draw something that's like a fandom thing, I would just probably mention it where I'm just like, are you fine with me if I resell this or something at a different time? Because most of the time they don't own the rights to that either.
Okay,
so
right.
What are they gonna do? Yeah.
And they had so yeah, talking about cons, are you looking forward to something later in the year, or are you just going to take 2021 off and say, I'm just going to...
I already took 2020 off. Unintentionally. I would say that I'm very excited for things to open up. I'm more looking towards the latter half of the year, once the majority of the country has actually been vaccinated. I still don't think that I would do conventions without a mask.
Right.
Not for at least like maybe like another year or so, to see what the statistics are. But yeah, 100%. I'm super excited to like get back out there and like do more like local conventions and stuff. I do a lot more work when I know that I have something to look forward to. Yeah. So that's when I do like the majority of my work.
And so what do you, how's your setup? Like, do you stickers, buttons, prints, comics? How's your setup looking like for that?
I do it all, baby. This day and age, you don't know what's gonna hit. I do it all. I do less stickers now. I used to do more stickers, and then there kind of like came the way when everyone started doing enamel pins.
Okay.
and stickers really kind of like fell off the mark. So I don't do stickers anymore. I don't want to say I don't do stickers, but I don't do stickers anymore. I mean, it's just I do a lot of prints because they're easy to produce, and it's kind of just like what most of like my style. When I make a piece, it generally looks better as a print versus as a sticker or a pin or something. So every once in a while, I can translate it to a pin or another kind of merch, but prints are usually like my wheelhouse, my bread and butter. Okay. So, but yeah, I do want to start looking into making more pins, kind of during like a 2021 year. So.
And so another piece of advice to give people that are listening: where do you what's your recommendation of what company or website do you order your swag from, your pins and stickers and stuff?
Oh boy! I mean, if you can find somewhere local to do it for a good price, definitely do it. Put your money back into the local economy if you can. There are a lot of like big sites that if you go on Reddit, if you go on Twitter, a lot of like the artists that you follow, usually you can like see is like I got this thing or whatever. Like I went to this manufacturer. Specifically, like a lot of enamel pin companies, like they're almost like 98%. They're based out of China. Right. And if you talk to anybody in the U.S., it's a middleman. Just go to the factory. A lot of creators used to be like really kind of tight-lipped about where they were getting their stuff made for whatever reason, and now it's kind of like become more. It's been better like resource sharing around artists about where they go, what prices you should expect for the amount that you're kind of like getting. A lot of places or a lot of people will kind of like go in together. I know I do have like one enamel pin that I don't have on my shop yet because I don't know how to take good pictures. I have one enamel pin that I did make, and I did it with my inner kind of like friend collective that we're all making pins. There's like, we can go in on a big group order, save on shipping. Do you want to do it? And I was just kind of like, yeah, I want to do it. And it was a lot of money, but it's a super cool looking pin, so I'm not upset that I did it. So if you're looking to like make pins or something, I would suggest look at the creators that are kind of making those pins. Look down the comments to see if like they've shared the manufacturer that they go through. Go on Reddit to like enamel pin communities. Like specifically look up communities online that are making the kind of merch that you want to make. And that is like a good resource to like figure out, should I be going to this person? What should I be expecting out of the merch that I really want to get? What should I be paying? That kind of thing, like the spec work of it, like knowing like, don't do something that is this small. It's not going to look good. It's not going to be, you can't make it that small, Betty. Which is something that I had to learn. So I made a super huge pin. Because I'm just that girl. I had to make a super big witch pin. What can I say? Balls to the wall.
There you go. So we're knocking at the end of the hour, Ashley. So where can people find your work, and where can people reach out to you?
You may have seen some of it on this live stream. My portfolio site, if you wanted to reach me, you can definitely email me through there. My email it's tentacles. So it's like tentacles with an extra E, tentacles@gmail.com. Go on my website, you can message me through there. If you want to see my work, also there, but mainly also Instagram. I know I haven't posted for a while. Don't at me. I'm going to post more stuff. It's been a bad year. You know it. I know it. It'll be a better year. Better year coming at you soon. But yeah, so, and you can also follow me on Twitter at Ribblett. That's my actual name, unfortunately. Follow me on Twitter if you want to see hot takes, weird, spicy posts, perhaps. Yeah, but if you're really looking for the art, get at my Carbon Made, get at my Instagram. So. Okay,
perfect. All right. Well, thank you very much, Ashley. This has been an exciting hour. This has been really fun chatting with you. Thank you.
Hey, it was good for me. Glad it was good for you.
Yeah. All right, so you got some fans that are already popping up on here. Ashley, this
Oh,
Ron Caruso.
oh, two T's, Ron. Two T's. I mean, but he's right. The McRib is really good.
Yep, yep. So here you go.
Wow. Yeah, I posted about it on Facebook, and it's like I posted during work, and I didn't really refresh. I was like, okay, like 2 people saw or whatever. It's 10:30. It's not really a big deal or whatever. And then I refreshed it, and it was like 82 people. And I was like, I have 82 friends.